bailas así, teniéndote tan cerca de mí, sintiendo tu respiración.
The newest addition to the TKO Group arsenal of production capabilities is built, open, and ready to blow minds. I was discussing the UFC Apex in a previous video as it was announced the WWE will use the venue for an NXT event. This will be a first for the Apex, but much more is planned and anticipated for the space, as the UFC will also be renting it out to anyone that can afford it for their individual broadcast and production project.
The WWE would like to go big. We like to push the boundaries on what we do and really engage our fans in new and creative ways. And that's something that's really appealing with virtual production. The world where technology meets art, and at this really beautiful intersection where it gives you the ability to do things in ways that have been done but really have never been done before. You're used to shooting on a green screen. With virtual production, it kind of changes the workflow around a little bit. So there are things to get used to where you work more in pre-production, but it really presents some unique challenges and exciting ways to deliver content.
Yeah, I mean, really, we pride ourselves on innovating in the space of sports and entertainment, and what this does is allow us to tell different kinds of stories, more immersive stories, showcase our talent and their characters in ways we've never done before, bring the fans closer to the characters, and just kind of blow people's minds along the way. We are in a new era. I like to call it the era of cinema, and that's exactly what we're about to explore.
The Apex, as you can see here, is loaded with so much industry standard top-notch equipment. Its impressiveness is damn near exhausting. However, in the same Apex video I told you all that what the WWE will do in that space will be much more than what the UFC has shown us. Again, I say that with confidence as I know that the WWE is second to none when it comes to live production. Yes, that does include any exception you were trying to think of. I stated that I believe the WWE is going to show the UFC a few new things that they can carry over. They may even be introducing some next level production going into this event, or in conjunction with it. Triple H and company got themselves a new production studio out in Stamford that is unlike anything else in this country. It's the first of its kind, and there isn't anything you'll find that comes close to touching it within the same amount of square feet. A 5-studio facility to up the ante in pro wrestling storytelling is news enough, but the shining star out of it all is the studio including the ultra new Sony Crystal LED Verona modular screen wall. The screen replaces any and all need for a green screen and has the ability to project in whatever format your heart desires, as well as integrating with AR or augmented reality. For those unaware, the augmented reality aspect is something the WWE is already messing around with. Co-founder of Meptic, we will call him Nick, was a participant in the unveiling of this new studio at NAB last month, and for my dollar gave the most interesting insight. Disguise that he refers to in this video is a company that specializes in virtual production. Servers, software, etc. are what these guys rule in, all focused on augmented and digital reality to create next level visual experiences. Meptic and Disguise work hand in hand and are on the bleeding edge of virtual production. This technology is in venues like the Sphere, as Nick stated, which means this gives a perfect opportunity for someone to come through and try out ideas on a smaller level for the Sphere. Someone like the UFC for an event like Noche. This expansion will no doubt include the UFC in one way or another. Either they will adopt this or simply use this one in Stamford. It's interesting because when you think of the UFC going places to do promos and production, you don't think of Connecticut or even really the East Coast. But it's a new era. But that aside, think about all those fan art posters for UFC events, how some are really creative and they really capture the brand and the identity or the idea of a certain fighter. You know, Alex Pereira comes to mind. Think about the UFC 300's build-up, say Alex Pereira or Wiley being put in front of this thing to share their story and culture. The limit will only be the producer's imagination. I'd bet money they use it for the promos for the Sphere and Madison Square Garden. It's a no-brainer. You can't just get in the Sphere and shoot promos leading into it, you know what I mean? I don't think the UFC even has enough time to think that kind of thing through. Remember, this is the only studio of this kind in the United States as of this recording. They gotta focus on the event itself. Meanwhile, some fighters can fly to Connecticut and shoot promos and do media using technology that is not only on par with, but basically exact to that in the Sphere. Perfect. Now, what this studio and what the UFC Apex can do together, when I think about it, is mind-boggling. I would love to get inside these places and work with this technology. I just randomly reminded myself of the movie Sphere, which now I have to meme so I can say I'm the first one to do it in relation to UFC at the Sphere.
I bet you if you put a laser micrometer on this thing, you'd find out it was a perfect sphere. I mean perfect, down to the thousandth of an inch.
Damn, I wish I could get inside that sphere.
Abel Cine were the ones to bring in cameras, lighting, cables, etc., choosing which and what pieces of hardware will integrate with what software in conjunction with Disguise and Meptic. All of this top-end equipment and specs and names and all that I won't bore you with, but one I gotta point out is the Sony Venice 2 camera. This fucking thing is a monster camera that isn't rivaled by anything I know of in its class. In case you haven't figured it out, I'm a big tech dude. I've been around a lot of film cameras and cameras in action on set. This is as baller as it gets. You can visit the site linked below for specs. How much is it? Oh, something like 70 G's just for the shell. You ain't getting this thing for selfies. I can't really articulate well enough how big of a game changer this technology is for any sport. I am certain others will follow WWE like they usually do and get a Verona wall up, but the WWE fully intends to rent this space out for leagues and organizations and whomever else can pay to get in there. I would not be surprised to hear or read about a few music videos being shot here either. Be on the lookout for some major improvements in production from both WWE and UFC pretty soon. I believe this addition to the company only increases the chances of what is supposed to be Noche UFC being a big success. I say supposed to because you guys notice they kind of leaned off Noche lately? They're not saying that, they're just saying the Sphere, UFC at the Sphere. Interesting. If they don't use this studio space for the promotions and build-up for the event, or any other event for that matter, I consider that a mistake. Now obviously you can't fly everybody over to Connecticut to shoot these things, but for these big fights, say Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler, yeah, and that's because the truth is UFC has nothing like this right now, and they won't have it in time for these big events for the rest of the year, even if they go that route as far as purchasing and making their own. It's all right there at their disposal. I don't believe for one second that Dana isn't interested in this. If you're a pro wrestling fan, or WWE fan, this is incredible news. They are going to blow anything done in the past out of the water. The little AR scenes that happen in the live productions are only going to get better, and I can't wait to see what people think up. If I had access to it, just me alone right now thinking about it, the things you could do with this equipment, how this is going to turn up the ante for both UFC and WWE events is really going to be something to behold. I cannot wait. I also think by UFC renting out Apex and WWE renting out this brand new studio to anyone with fitting needs is a telltale of bigger operations coming out of TKO Group. Let's just hope all involved can stay on the bleeding edge of creativity.
You know, content is king when it comes to fan engagement. I think this gives us some really good ways to conceive, create, and deliver that content faster than ever before. As to how we use it, you know, in future productions, I think only time will tell, but we are the WWE. We like to go big, so I don't think anything is really off the table.
One thing I want to add, I think Joe would agree, but you know, the studios at WWE are brand new. This is only one of our studios, and with that said, we are open for business. You know, to outside sports outfits. You know, if NFL wanted to come in and do something with the players, well, let's go.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.